All right, guys. I'm going to just share my screen real quick, and then we will get started on the lesson for today. So, what you guys are going to be doing is you are starting topic 8 in this section. So, if you have not grabbed a note packet yet, please make sure you grab a new topic 8 note packet. We are starting our geometry unit. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is on the very front page, make sure your name is on it and record the following topic essential questions. So, how can geometry be used to solve problems? Take a minute, pause the video if you need to, and record that on your front sheet. All right, and today's lesson is going to be on 8.5. We're going to be looking at circumference of a circle. So your I can statement, your objective is I can solve problems involving radius, diameter, and circumference of a circle. So write down here. Okay. All right, again, pause if you need to so you can get this information recorded. Okay, so on your notes, you're going to notice you have a table there for you to record some vocabulary words. This is a very vocab heavy thing or lesson and really topic in all. So make sure that you guys are understanding these vocabulary words and recording them in like fully in your notes. So the first thing we need to know is the diameter of a circle. That is the distance across the circle through the center. So if you look at this picture, it is this line right here, this pink line. Okay, if you want to draw a picture of your circle, that would be a really good idea, and record what the diameter looks like. Okay, the radius is basically a line from the center of the circle to the outside of the circle. So you can think of it as half the diameter. That's really important to know. So these two vocabulary words are related. So you have the diameter, which is all the way across. You have the radius, which is only half. So if they tell you the radius is 5, you know the diameter would be 10. Or if they say the diameter is 6, then you know the radius would be 3. Okay. All right. So with that being said, the circumference formula, this is what you guys are going to be using a lot today. First of all, circumference is kind of like perimeter. It is the distance around the circle. So it's all the way around here. And in order to find the circumference, you need to use this formula, the C equals pi times D, okay? Meaning you are taking pi, so 3.14, times your diameter, okay? And then again, pi is, if you want to get very specific with it, it is the ratio of circumference to the diameter. It is always 3.14. Use 3.14 as pi unless it tells you otherwise. Every once in a while, it'll tell you to use, there's a fraction version of pi that's like 22/7. Sometimes they will say in the directions to do that. So just make sure you're reading the directions fully. Most of the time and on your IXL today, they will tell you to use 3.14 as pi. Okay. And then pi always looks like this symbol. Okay. So make sure you have all 4 vocabulary words, definitions, and I would definitely draw a picture in your notes. Okay. Pause if you need to. All right, our first example. So we've got Mark recently replaced his front bicycle wheel. So right away, we're looking at a circle. How far does the bike travel with each revolution of his new front wheel? Okay, so a revolution, if you guys don't know, is, when your tire goes around all the way one time. So we basically want to calculate what the circumference is. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is and I'm just going to take my circle here. So this is my circle. I'm just making it bigger for you. And in this case, we have a diameter of 26. So to solve this, to find the circumference, using that circumference equals pi times diameter, I am just going to use 3.14 as pi and multiply that by 26. And if you calculate that out, you should get 81.64. I'm just going to double check my math here. Yep, 81.64. And it looks like we are measuring this in inches. Because it's circumference, I just say it's that inches. Okay, so your answer would be 81.64 inches. Okay. All right. So again, a lot of times what they're going to do is they're just going to give you the diameter, or they might give you the radius, which is something we're going to practice in the next problem. Okay. All right. So next example, let's say they give you the radius instead of the diameter. So what is the circumference of the rim of a basketball hoop with a radius of 9? Okay. So again, I'm going to take my circle here. And in this case, because it says it's the radius of a circle, that means that it's just from the center here to the outside. That is 9. Now, if you remember, our formula here is circumference equals pi times diameter. So it doesn't involve our radius, but we can figure out what our diameter is, because the diameter of this circle, and I'm just going to draw it like this. Okay. The diameter is going to be twice the radius, because if you remember from your vocabulary at the beginning of the lesson, the radius is half the diameter. So if the radius is 9, the diameter is going to be 18. So then I'm just going to plug in that information. So I'm still using 3.14. And I'm multiplying that by 18. And my answer would get you 56.52. And it looks like we're measuring in inches again. So inches. Make sure you guys are labeling your answers here. Okay. So again, if they give you the radius, make sure you double that radius before you plug it into the formula for your diameter. Okay. All right. Those two examples are going to be a bulk of what your IXL is going to be on today. But just so you guys know how to do this for the future, there are going to be situations where they're going to give you the circumference and you have to figure out what the diameter or the radius is. So we're going to look at three examples here just to make sure you guys are getting that information. Okay. All right. So next example, we've got, well, first of all, what is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 5 inches? Okay. So I'm going to have you guys try this one on your own. Pause the video real quick. Make sure that you're reading the problem fully. It's radius of 5 inches. Okay. Once you solve it, if you solved it correctly, it would be, so the radius is 5, so the circumference would be, to figure out the diameter, you have to double it. So it would be 10. Okay, the diameter would be, so you would do 3.14 times 10, which would get you 31.4. Okay, and inches. So again, if we had a circle here, which I'm not going to do right now. Okay, another thing that you want to look at, another way you can figure this out is sometimes, like this problem, they're going to give us the circumference and you have to figure out what the diameter is. So in order to do that, okay, we are just going to move this out of the way. Come on. Oof. Sorry. Okay. The diameter of a circle is 10.99, or we want to know what the diameter is with a circumference of 10.99. So if we're still going with this circumference equals pi times diameter situation here, we don't know what the diameter is. So we're going to keep that as D. We know that the circumference is 10.99. So I'm going to say 10.99 equals, and I'm going to use 3.14 for pi. And then we don't know what the diameter is. So this is like a one-step problem. So in order to figure out what the diameter is, you would divide both sides by 3.14. Divide by 3.14. That cancels out. So then my diameter is going to equal 10.99 divided by 3.14 is 3.5. So my diameter here is 3.5 and feet, because that's what the circumference was in. Okay. So again, same thing. You're using the same formula. You're just plugging in different information that you might know. So in this case, they gave you the circumference. You plug that in for C. You know pi is always 3.14 unless they tell you differently. And then you just divide to figure out the diameter. Okay. All right. We're actually going to look at one more example. I know there's another example on your notes, but we're just going to look at one more here just to make sure you guys are feeling good about this. So this is the same sort of problem we just looked at. So Kayla and Theo got on the Ferris wheel shown about how high will they be at the top of the Ferris wheel. So that means that we want to know from here all the way up to here, and you can't really see that very well, but we basically want to know what the diameter is. So if we plug that information again into my formula, so C equals pi times diameter. I know my circumference here is 220, so I'm going to do 220 equals pi again is 3.14. And I don't know what the diameter is. That is what I'm solving for. So D, again, divide by 3.14 to both sides.